Hasan tuh yang di penjuru Indonesia nih.
Mr. Chairman, right now Indonesia is in current need of certain development itself, right? We say that by us not recognizing the consented recording on state-funded tournament will be better for the debate society development, and second, the debate at least will be more accessible in Indonesia, because we see the current status quo problems are first that some debaters are when they don't consent into certain recordings on especially state-funded tournaments, it can create an unclear views of this debate itself. And second, we see that by the less debate videos in the current YouTube in Indonesia, right, it can make debate less accessible, especially for regions that is outside Java itself. And third, we think that this is really harmful for the transparency from the government, because there's possibility of certain rigged system or unfairness in the current selections for the nationals and etc. Right? It can create many conflicts or drama and certain rumors itself regarding the selection. Our mechanism for today is first, without consent or no, the government and committee officials will record and can be posted in the current social media. But we say this current recording is only for the knockout rounds. And we think the VIA is basically the government, and the committee is the one who is in charge in this. And we think it is all state-funded tournaments is for like NSDC and UDC, right? And also our mechanism is we make it an official rule that will be explained in the briefing and in the technical meeting and etc. This will be announced towards these contestants to begin with. We say that by the certain problem will also fix the gap of standards in the current regions of the current Indonesia debating community, where Java debaters usually is way better than the other part, right? We want to improve this and want to decrease the gap. That's why we want to make the debate more accessible towards others, so that they can improve and learn from this from this state-funded tournament. First argument, I'm going to explain on why the state-funded tournament is exclusive. Second, why it is justified to not recognize this consent. And third, why this is government responsibility. And later on, my DPM will finally tell you on how this actually will reach our goal, which is for a debate more accessible and for this to expose the transparency of the government. Moving on the first argument on exclusivity of the state-funded tournament. We say first, this state-funded tournaments when selections is among the best, right? It is good debaters that has actually the standard of the current country itself. That's why we see that is actually where the better contestant that people can learn from them, right? So coaches or debaters can learn and improve themselves for the future. And moreover, we think that the goal for debaters is to join the WSDC or the WUDC, right? So that they wanted to learn more about this current standards and the current criteria that people are looking for. That's why this can make the debate more accessible to begin with. That's why we say that the state-funded tournament is exclusive in this case, because it is more important towards this certain debating society to begin with. Moreover, on why this is justified for the state-funded to not recognize this consent or to take this right of these people, right? Because we say that the government already paid for this certain tournament, right? This consensus already gained privilege. First, they already gain better facility in cases, and they already give more money and give more recognition, even for future assets. They already certain achievement itself that this is more legit recognition for their achievements, right? This privilege, we say that it is okay for a certain trade-off that we take their one right, but we give already lots of other rights and privilege to begin with. Moreover, after they already being given this privilege, we say that there's certain moral obligation for them to give back towards the state-funded tournament, right? Especially this in line with the government and NSDC goal is like to basically to proliferate critical thinking and for the proliferate the debating society in whole Indonesia, right? That's why they have the moral obligation to at least give back and give their videos to be taken to for other people to be to study from that, right? And while we can improve this critical thinking, we don't see there's no certain harm itself, because moreover, this can be a learning material for the country to improve in the end of the day. Moreover, we think even if they say that this violates privacy, we say no because consent still exists in our case. Because, like we stated in our mechanism, we of course will announce this new rule itself, right? And we will state it at the briefing and, for example, in the technical meeting. That's why this contestant, even though if they want to really protect their privacy and they don't want any videos of them getting recorded, they can think about it again, and these contestants will be knowledgeable about the certain rules, right? So that they can still choose to opt out anyway, right? So that's why personal right of this contestant is there, because there's still a choice itself from this contestant, right? And it is not that this offer is not limited in that point. That's why we say the significance of this argument is it haven't violated privacy. Yes.
If you have to explain the briefing, and doesn't that technically mean that you're asking for their approval before you can record them?
No, we explained that if we actually, for example, before the selection, we already explained and give out the rules, right? That's why if they want to opt out, they can. But this is because the consented recording is including for the participants, right? So basically, that really just here. Moreover, regarding the government responsibility, because this provides transparency, right, is to show that the selection is justified and to show the selection is transparent. Especially at local tournaments, where there is certain stigma that there's a rigged system, or there is certain conflicts, or because there is no standard itself in the local selections and local tournaments, right? We say that this can provide a certain transparency, and we can expose any of the unjustified actions or any unfairness in the current selections. That's why this is an effort of government roles to see that, and also to trigger them to be especially more just in selection. Moreover, this is as a counterbalance when there are certain people that accuse them of being not justified, because there are certain evidence that can prove on whether the reason is the result of the certain selection is justified or no. But even though they say that it won't be effective because the result can be subjective, we say first there will be still logical discussion and logical reasoning, and will follow the majority results in the end of the day. Second, at least open for improvements and critics that the adjudicators and the adjudicators will be more critical in deciding, right? Because they know that they will be held accountable if there is certain rigged system, if there is certain unfairness being proved, that they already be in part of this untransparency. That's why by this we already offered them a just selection that is, or will be a form of already appreciation and also acknowledgement of people that is really deserve to get inside of this selection of NSDC and NUC. Proud to propose.
Berapa menit tadi?
Round starts by 7 minutes and 19 seconds. Is the response coming from the opposition team? Let us call the leader of the opposition.
Jangan lupa ya. Berhenti bentar ya.
Zahid bentar. 1 menit ya. 30 detik.
Yeah, I'm not a fast typer. This house would not recognize consented recording
on state funded tournament.
Yeah.
We recognize that debates need to be fair, and also how debates need to be accessible. We think that everybody deserves to get access to debate as well as watch those debates. The assumption coming from the government is that people who perform in state-funded recordings are automatically good, and they can become examples. First of all, this is not technically true. We think that there are a lot of people participating in state-funded tournaments who are not particularly good, but they're participating still in that tournament. So we don't think it is something exclusive to their side. Moreover, think about this. If you're forcing someone to be recorded while they're performing, think about how uncomfortable it would be for them. Think about the performance that they're going to be giving, the kind of their confidence, and also the insecurities that they have. We think if they do give this performance under this consent recording, what you will get best from the government is minimum performance. You don't get the best performance out of these kids because they don't feel comfortable in showing that. I'm going to talk about that in my arguments. Some points of rebuttal. First of all, on how on the point that government already paid these students. We think that just because government pays you doesn't mean that they automatically pay for the hard work that these students did. We think that they only pay for the accommodation and all that. They didn't pay for the sacrifices that these kids made, the preparation that these kids made in order to get to the point of being in that state-funded tournament. These preparations, they may not like it to be seen by other people because simply they want their progress to be private, and this privacy is important because we want to ensure personal development of those individuals. When you try to force them to be recorded for the development of other people, we think that what best is you stop these personal developments because now they feel like they're performing for other people, not for the improvement of themselves. We think that this can have some benefits. However, the harms is that you stop those people, you hamper those people from performing their best because of the insecurities that the government will be feeding from. Also, on the point of transparency, on how transparency can be seen by recording those people performing. We think that this is, first of all, false. We don't think that transparency can be judged by watching somebody debate. We think what's better is that you ask for testimony. It's much better to get things like transparency because, quite frankly, when you just watch people debate, you think that you can't really judge the transparency there because the results of debates are subjective. We think that you appeal to different adjudicators differently. You don't have the same rules for each adjudicator. Therefore, we don't think that it can be a good metric for you to judge a performance, an adjudicator's accountability. Therefore, it should also fall. We think also about their mechanism on explaining in the briefing. We think they're already creating a hole for themselves here because we think that when you explain it in the briefing, we think this doesn't work because they're not giving for. They mention how they're going to give choices on how they're informing these individuals, but we think that this information is not important because at the end of the day you won't be able to choose. You still would have to comply with the government's rules. So this point of giving them information is useless, and we think that if you want to do this, you better give no briefing at all. We think that this mechanism doesn't stand. Points of arguments. In our side of the house, we're going to show you why the interest of the government is held better in our side of the house, and also we're going to show you how consent is not only consent is important in its essence, but also how it makes these students perform better. So, what are the interests of the government? We think that the interest of the government is one of them is to develop talents. Also, they want their citizens to feel happy, safe, and secure. That's why they fund these state tournaments, because they want to build these relationships and show to these people that they care and they want them to improve. Therefore, states need to make sure that in achieving those things, they ask for what's best for these individuals. We think that they need to appeal to individuals differently. You think and this leads to our points of arguments. We have two in my speech. First of all, on how people on how it bears a huge emotional baggage for people being recorded. Secondly, on how the government feeds on insecurities. First argument is on how it bears a huge emotional baggage. People who get recorded when they're not feeling uncomfortable, they perform with a huge emotional baggage. They have fears lingering in their heads. They have fears that they will be judged for if they perform badly. They fear that one single recording of you on YouTube, for example, is the definition of your whole career or your whole debating performance. They fear that by one performance you will be eternally judged. What they might say is that this will push students to perform their best. But we think no. Because you are in the debate chamber, instead of thinking of the best arguments, you're thinking about how to appeal to people and how to make them happy, how to make them less sad, and how to make them satisfied with your performance, instead of using your own metric, using your own self-determination to calculate your progress and perform accordingly. We think that you don't need people to approve how you perform. We think that individuals progress differently, and that's why we think it's better that these individuals keep it to themselves so they can progress. Because then, this fear of getting bullied, for example, imagine you're performing in an NSDC final, yet at this point, and NSDC final, and you have a huge emotional baggage. You fear of being, and you have one bad performance in this final. What you fear is you fear of being judged. You fear that this has defined your whole debating career. This is harmful for your development, because people who see you will see that this is the kind of debater that he or she is. This is him. Even though there are plenty of other debates that he can perform in, and we think that it is not that it harms that. We think that what this will cause, moreover, is also fear of participation. Imagine if you're being judged and then you have to bear this huge emotional baggage. You will have fear of participation. You don't want to participate anymore because you have the trauma of getting into those competitions. Some people who are already good at debating, who are already confident in themselves, may just shut off those people who make negative remarks among them. But in state-funded tournaments, the goal of the state is to develop these kids. These kids are fairly new. They need coaching. They need improvement. But with such kind of remarks, that's really putting down their confidence. It is more likely that people fear of participation. They fear of the outcome of participating or not performing well. We think that they deserve to know. If you record and if you don't record. And also, we think that the purpose is to show. The purpose of recording, that they said, is to give an image of how debaters should perform, so for people to learn. But like we said, if you have this, what you're likely going to give is minimum performance, because you're constantly thinking of the recording. You're not giving your best. You're just giving your minimum performance. We think that people need to feel secure if they want to perform their best. They need to know what and how the information is going to be used. We think that if the concern is about how it keeps transparency and how it can be improved for the years coming forward, we think that there are better tools that you can use for that. Tools like testimonies. There are also official government reports that you can look from. We don't think that you can judge the metrics of how good a tournament is by watching a debate video, because the performances of these people are relatively subjective. It changes, it fluctuates from performance to performance. It's not constant, so you can't really judge from one single video or a compilation of videos. That's why in our side of the house, we care about the emotional health of these people. We also don't want these people to feed on their insecurities, and we think that people deserve to know where and who their information is going to. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader of the Opposition. He spends 22 seconds to see continuing debaters call the Deputy Prime Minister. Time is yours.
Belum timer.
Iya.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Bawahnya.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that debaters are not ordinary people. We have high grit, we have intelligence, we are logical, and we are critical thinking. So, two rebuttals towards side opposition. First of all, they try to tell you that they will be uncomfortable and they're going to be playing for other people instead of themselves. We have 4 responses towards this. Firstly, debaters are used to perform in public, One of the criteria, if you want to do debate, is that you are confident in public speaking. So the moment you're able to be standing like this, you're standing in grand finals, semi-finals, it means that you're already standing in front of lots of audiences, and a small camera in front of us will not change any of our confidence. Secondly, their intention of being the best and want to win the trophy is the nature of every debaters. We debaters are very competitive and we want the best of ourselves, so we will still be playing for ourselves. And I'm very sure that we all do not want to risk losing a trophy just because we are afraid of a camera. Third of all, we fight for ourselves, not for others, because you join NUDC and NSDC like here because we want to be the best speakers and we want to proceed to the nationals, and we are going to play for ourselves because we are debaters, right? Fourth of all, they say that they're going to be afraid of people's judgment. We say no, we debaters are very logical and critical, which means the audiences of that videos are also going to be people who are very rational and logical itself, which means the comments that exist inside the comments of the videos itself are very educational purposes, because we are giving feedback towards the debaters. Even if it is a bad comment, we debaters have very high grades, because sometimes in competition, we meet adjudicators who are very rough in talking to us, like saying, you are dumb, you are bad, but instead we are still here and surviving and joining a debate competition itself. We have very high grade. Coming to my second rebuttal, he says that performance of every adjudicators are subjective. Yes, we agree onto this, and my Prime Minister has already stated about this. Yes, we agree how subjective they are, and they have different styles and etc. But debate is also a democracy. Every time we do AP, there is the name that there is voting, and the majority always wins, right? Which means in the discussion itself, there will always be a majority, and we are going to follow the discussion of this majority. So if the majority says that this debate is unfair, this debate is bad, which means that we can also support the transparency of that discussion itself, because if the majority thinks that it is unfair, then that debate is unfair, because debate is also a democracy. Coming to one of my clarification, why in the end of the day, debaters are also going to consent into having their videos recorded. There are 3 reasons on this. Firstly, debaters are more logical and more rational, which means that we are an open-minded community, and if government is already trying their best to explain why we decide to make a recording even though you do not consent, they're going to understand why, because they are logical and rational. They are not full of anger like ordinary people, which means that we're going to accept it in the end of the day. Secondly, we say that the nature of debaters is that they are very helpful and they want to help the other newbies, such as in our school, every time there is a new year, we try to help our newbies because we are debaters who want to help new people, which means that they're also going to accept that. Third of all, once they already see how their videos are going to be able to help newbies into learning debating, we say they're already going to receive respect and appreciation. We say that this is enough compensation coming from the debaters in order to make them satisfied, even if their right is taken away. Coming to my 2 arguments, firstly, I'm going to compare the actors in our cases, and secondly, why it can also support transparency and also the feedback process in a competition. To my first rebuttals about the debaters and students who want to learn about debating. 3 things about this. Firstly, we say that national tournament videos will be accessible itself. It will be very important because a lot of debaters have national debaters as their role model, and we say that this is a very important thing, especially if we want to learn from powerhouses such as UI, ITB, and UGM. They are very important to learn about, and if one of them even doesn't want to show their video, we say that it will be a very significant loss towards the debating community. Second thing, why is it important for them to be accessible? Because NUDC and NSDC are the very high-branded competition that exists in Indonesia, and this is the dream of every debater. So we say that these videos are exclusive rather than the other competitions. Third of all, when the video is complete and accessible, we're actually encouraging more people to watch videos itself. Because when newbies want to watch videos, the only competition they know about is NUDC and NSDC. So when they search for these YouTube videos, they will not know other competitions or like open competitions in other countries. Which is why if there is not complete videos about NUDC and NSDC, it will be very hard for them to find another video, and we discourage them from learning debate. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, because we allow for more accessible videos itself, which means that we are also trying an effort to decrease the gap between Japanese debaters and other debaters all across Indonesia, right? Which means that we are also supporting the proliferation of debate community. Lastly, many debaters' dream is also joining WSDC and WUDC. So the videos of NSDC and NUDC are the most important videos that you have to find inside the internet because it shows you the direct example of the practicalities that happen inside the World Championship itself. And another actor that I will discuss about is about the coaches and the teachers. First of all, they're going to get more viewing materials, so they're able to analyze each state's strengths and weaknesses, right? This means that the coaches and teachers are able to strategize and make tactics based on the videos that they already watched, because every local state have different styles and different structures, which means that it is also allowing for more improvement on our local style itself, because we can learn from Jakarta debaters or etc. Second thing about our coaches, because coaches are usually able to learn a lot from these videos, so in order to teach our students better, they usually need to watch a lot of materials, especially from NUDC and NSDC. The real life example is our coach, Bang Holmes. He likes to watch the NUDC Grand Final. I think he watched it like 5 times, so that he can learn the structure from Bang Ali from UI, and he taught the structure from the Japanese debaters to us. This is why it is so important for our coaches to be able to watch NUDC videos in order to be able to also decrease the gap of Sumatra debaters like us. The second argument that I'm going to bring is about the transparency and the feedback process that exists in competitions. First of all, by videos, debaters can analyze the quality of the competition, and this is also a form of critical thinking. Debaters need to speak up about the unfairness and also the quality of the competition, and it is a freedom of speech that every debater should be allowed to have. This discussion will exist and eventually reach a result where we can know if the NUDC or NSDC is being held well. Secondly, from the result of the discussion, then there can be a feedback process from the debaters to the competition or the adjudicators itself. Maybe the adjudicators made wrong decision, hence making it unfair, right? We cannot change the result of the competition, but at least the adjudicators will know what kind of improvement that they need to make next year, such as RDF. Maybe we can also give you feedbacks from this recording and what you need to do next year. This is the importance of having evidence itself. Thirdly, we want to prevent rigged competitions with predetermined winners. We say testimonies in their side of the case will not work because videos also used for evidence. But in their case, there will no more be real evidence, and we cannot reach the government officials if there is no real practical thing that we can show to them. Because I am a debater and I'm very proud to stand in this grand finals.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister. The response from the opposition team that has recognized the Deputy Leader of the Opposition. Prime Minister.
One. Orang cuma datang nge-wave doang.
Rifki Jerman nonton.
Hah?
Siapa? Rifki Belanda.
Oh.
Belanda Jerman.
Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, we as the opposition here want to consent the recording of the debate itself, that we want to let the debater itself have a freedom to choice not to be in court or to be in court. But before I jump to my arguments, I would have some rebuttal towards the government team. First, they have stated that this kind of debating are exclusive for those who have a critical thinking. But we from here believe that this kind of statement will make the newbies or fear to feel that I can join this kind of competition because these are exclusive for who have critical thinking, who have a good skill enough to speak up in front of many people and have self-confidence to speak up in front of many people. And also, we from the opposition believe that if the government didn't give any consent to this kind of debaters to choose that they are to be recording or not,
will make these newbies or fear more, because they will think that they will be recorded every time they have a competition. They will, that my previous speaker also stated that when they are recording, they will not have their maximum performance in this kind of competition, but because they are under pressure of what kind of the people think, what kind of weaknesses that I will show in the video itself, that will make this kind of newcomers of debaters, or the newbies of the debaters, fear to speak up in front of the people, to be recorded and so on, because they will worry that they will show their weaknesses, they will show what they are lacking, like they are not good enough in this kind of competition. And then the government also stated that we want to make this kind of recording to make this newbie or some people that want to know this debate can learn more from this video. But we believe that in here, as my previous speaker also stated that if they are recording, they will just not giving their maximum performance. Maximal performance means that they will not be that maximal in showing their skill. Means that it is not appropriate. This is not right to this newbie, because they just learn that it is not maximal performance, and yeah, kind of that. And lastly, they're assuming that this kind of person who join this debate are the people who are great and having a very high confidence and great. And we believe that in here, not all of the people who are joining this debate are the great people, and we believe that they are generalizing this kind of debater itself, because we believe that this kind of debaters that join this debate competition that state funded by the government, they also want to develop from the debate, from the competition itself, because they will meet some other debaters that not practicing with them, so they can learn more from the other debaters that are competing with them. Okay, come to my arguments. Okay, the state-funded tournaments means that government are really fund this kind of competition. That means that the government here having some intentions or having some interest on these tournaments. Like first, they want to develop this. They want to develop and also to showing that to develop more this kind of people who have this kind of students who have skill in debating or some talent that they have. So when they are success in developing this kind of debaters, they can make this person compete in international to make their country proud of them. That's what we believe, that this is the government interest. And then the mechanism of government that start funding these tournaments they are help them to fulfill some requirements. Like they will help some cost of the tournament itself, like what we have in here, that in NSDC province that we are having state-funded tournament. So the government interest is to make this kind of competitors not to think too much about the requirement itself. So the government hope that this kind of competitors can have a maximum performance in front of all of the people, so they can get a maximal performance. But as my previous speaker stated, that when they are recording and they are not giving a consent to choose that they are recording or not, there will be some mental pressure for them, like they are feel worried that people will see her weakness, the weaknesses of the debater itself, and then they will not having a maximum performance. And then, of course, it is wrong from what the government want in here. So that's why, Mr. Speaker and gentlemen, I believe that if we are recording this kind of competition, if we are recording the debaters itself, that it will make the government propose to make this kind of debaters can develop more, can improve more the skill that they have, will fail because of they will not giving their maximum performance towards the recording itself. So that's why, Mr. Speaker and gentlemen, we from the opposition believe that this kind of not recognizing the concept of the debater itself, with choice that they are being recording or not, will bring more harm, rather than if we giving them consent to choose that they will record it when they are giving their performance or not. Based on this verbal purpose, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Commission. So, to continue the case coming from the government, that's all the government waived the order. Time is yours.
Panel, debaters are people who are just not good at speaking English and delivering arguments. Debaters are the ones who are emotionally strong and could handle criticism after all of the rounds. Debaters are the ones who are highly sportive in competition, that still could shake hands and still talk with each other after competitions and losing, and also they're open-minded and never give up. We think that these are the qualities of debaters that the opposition is very dismissive about. They're only talking about the ones who are, you're shy and all of those things. We think that that is not the quality of a standard debaters in national competition that is state-funded, right? We think that in the context of this motion, we are talking about the ones who are the best of the best. Look at the debaters in this room, that the ones that who are already have the experience and all of those stuff. We think that all of their arguments about the uncomfortability and pressure is not valid, right? The two questions in this debate: first, is it justified for government to not recognize the unconsented recordings? And second, what are the impacts of unconsented recording in state-funded tournaments, right? But before that, some direct rebuttals. Firstly, they're talking about how newbies will fear to join the competition, but we already told you that we are talking about prestigious state-funded tournament with high credibility. We don't think that these newbies wouldn't actually be able to just come, right? And so we think that the quality of debaters are already ensured. But secondly, they talk about how transparency could be sourced by testimony and official report by the government. Look, in order for you to have an official report, you need a tangible evidence. And we think that the best tangible evidence is the recordings, right? We think that when you can watch the debate, live or not live, we think that you can actually see the arguments and you can compare it to the adjudicators' score sheets. And we think that at the end of the day, this is still needed in order for you to create accountability of the adjudicators of the government, so that we ensure justice in the debate tournaments, right? On our issues, first, in the justification level, right? Their justification is focused on the mentality and the psychological level of the debaters, right? They talk about how content is important because it would affect your performance, right? We say that the debate in itself, we already told you that it is emotionally exhausting, right?
round after round, you are being judged by the adjudicators. It is not just by the people that in this room, we are also adjudicators that still point at your flaws. We think that this kind of thing make debaters strong enough to handle the criticism. We think that in our side of the house, criticism is important and significant for your improvement, right? They talk about how you fight for yourself in your own metrics. No, we don't think that how debates work, right? Debate works with check and balances. When you have a flaw in your speech, when you have something in your habit, we think that in order for you to notice that problem is to listen to other people, no matter how hurtful it is, right? We think that criticism, no matter how hurtful it is justified in debate, right? But secondly, they talk about the fear of participation and trauma and so on and so forth, right? We don't think that people who join debate just are traumatized just because they lose one debate, right? We think that people that is traumatized by debate is caused by the feeling of being static, by not losing. And most people quit debate after losing several competitions. And in our side, that's why we told you why improvement is important. By accessibility and the opportunity to be better, people will create better opportunity. People will have a better improvement in their speeches and their arguments. And at the end of the day, they will not be traumatized. There can still opportunity in their side. Before I move on, yes.
Ma'am, you've been referring to prestigious debaters, but can you consider newly introduced debaters because state-funded tournaments can also be held in rural Irian Jaya villages and so forth?
We already talked about the disparity of standards in Indonesia, right? The most prestigious debaters come from Java. So what are the importance of, we also include the ones who are not prestigious? Well, we say that it is important because we still need to expose that the standards is not the same. That in these areas, the debaters are inaccessible, that they have no opportunity because there are no standards. The standards is different. So therefore, in order for in our side, in order for these people, the ones who are unprivileged, to be better, they need an exposure so that therefore the people who are in privileged areas could help them to be better, and at the end of the day, will create a better improvement in all areas, not just developing in one area, right? We don't think that it will be harmful for them since they are debaters and they are strong enough mentally, right? So all of the root of the problem in their case is not about the unconsented reporting, but it is about the toxicity in debate community, which is actually invalid because we say that debating community are rational and open enough, right? So we think that their justification false, right? But about our exclusivity, right? Why unconsented reporting in state-funded government is actually really beneficial. We have already told you on all aspects how debaters, the coaches, teachers, and also the government could have more transparency, right? We already told you that debaters, there are disparity in the Indonesian debaters, right? Not all debaters have access to good standards of debate. Not all debaters have good coaches, right? So we think that by giving them access to these good qualities, videos, and by letting them have the opportunity to be exposed to this good quality debate, that will create check and balances. You can compare yourself. The comparison will be enough for them to notice what are their faults and what is good, right? We think it also creates a fairness in opportunities, since good debaters right now only exist in Java. There are a small percentage in all of other areas, right? So we think that it is crucial for us to include all areas in our debate platform, right? We think it will create fairness in opportunity when more areas will participate to tournaments such as NSDC. Yes, please.
Why isn't it enough to get recordings from people who consent, who are more likely to perform better and also more comfortable with it?
They're circling their argument, but still saying that these people are the ones who are deeply affected by these recordings. But we have already told you that debating is an emotionally exhausting work, right? They could still be traumatized by the judge who are being harsh by them. So we don't think that it is exclusive, right? We think that debate will always be harsh, but we think it is for the betterment of themselves, right? So we don't think that question matters, right? But in our side, we give you better quality in all of the areas, and also even if we say that there is still subjectivity in judgment, we think that it is better for us to have better discussion existed, right? We think that even if the edges are subjective, remember the qualities are different, and we think that with discussion they could compare the qualities of the adjudicators and give them better adjudicators at the end of the day, right? We think that open towards criticism is important, and we don't think that And we think that without the consented recording, Indonesia will be much better, right? So with all of these reasons, we already give you a bit of justification that because it is state funded, the government has the obligation to ensure debate proliferation in Indonesia. And second, we already give you substantive reasons on why this would be beneficial, not just for debaters who are privileged, but also the debaters that are unprivileged, right? And lastly, we don't think that the harms are much significant. We think that all of the justifications are not inherently, because we think that is not the qualities of debaters. With all of these reasons, so far we stand on our proposition.
Thank you, Government Whip. She spent 7 minutes and 59 seconds to see the last speaker to give the cases from the opposition team and respond to the opposition team. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our government is assuming that every single person that joins the debating community, that every single person that joins this community is significantly exclusive to this community. They need to be smart to join the debating community. That people need to have reasoning to join. That people need to have certain qualities to have these to join debating communities. And they're assuming that every single person that are in these types of government-funded tournaments of debate are world-class, such as Bang Diman or Boseo. They're assuming that every single person that are currently participating in state-funded debate tournaments are world-class. But we on side opposition believe that the purpose of NSDC or WDC or any single government-funded tournament is not only to find the best of the best in certain areas, but to also introduce debate, to further rural communities, to further communities that are not privileged, that are not in Java, or that don't have any coaches, that don't have people that are currently struggling to find their voice in the debate community. First point of rebuttal. Firstly, they say inside government that this is a way to give appreciation to debaters. But the logic here is that how would you give appreciation to debaters if they don't even want to be recorded? How do you give appreciation to these debaters if they don't even consent to be recorded and they don't even want to be recorded? And I want to tell you that every single person, that if debating is exclusive, then we wouldn't have many people joining debating. Because why? Firstly, we believe that a lot of people that join debating communities started off as people that are confident in themselves, that try to build self-confidence, that try to build this feeling in themselves that they want to talk publicly. Debaters that join debating community, don't have an intellectual quality, that they are only good at public speaking, that their qualities to join debating, they have to have public speaking skills from the get-go. Certain debaters want to build up their public speaking, and people, if we are trying to build this image of the debating community as an exclusive group of only smart people, of only helpful people, then people are going to be reluctant to join these type to our community. People are going to be reluctant. Why? Because people will think that this community is solely exclusive to those people, that these type of people cannot join because they aren't smart, they aren't helpful, that they are someone who can contribute to the debating community. And this type of philosophy is something that we're trying to avoid inside opposition by encouraging everyone to join these types of tournaments and not record that and not recording them without consent. And second point of rebuttal, we believe that there are certain evidence that you can find in testimonies from adjudicators. Certain evidence that only can be found in testimonies from adjudicators. Why? We believe that when you record someone, we only record the performance, not the process of adjudication, not the process of a person trying to find the right cause, not a process of a person trying to find who the winner of the debate is. And secondly, how this evidence, if we upload it to somewhere, if we upload it to YouTube or something else, it would provide a learning experience for UB debaters. And in the later time, it would create a more fair community, because the people that are trying to watch these videos are debaters. They are smart, they are analytical. But we believe that the people that are trying to watch these types of videos are people that are also learning to be debaters. They are newbie debaters. They are debaters who are trying to improve themselves. So that's why they watch the video. Not just because they want to judge other people. They want to learn from these people. And secondly,
Sir, before that?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, notice how he keeps stating the harms in our side without actually responding how they will actually improve the proliferation of national debating championship in all regions, especially the rural ones.
I'm coming on to that point. And one point is that how this would also improve debating community. We believe that the learning materials not only come from evidence. We believe that there are a lot of things that can be held accountable from learning experience inside opposition. Why? We believe that there is a more beneficial things to have inside opposition. Firstly, there is more beneficial thing. There is a more beneficial factor if we learn from quality debaters, if we learn from debaters from WDC or debaters that have already proven that they have public speaking skills, that these debaters have already proven that they can debate without us actually, that these debaters can actually debate without us actually having to try to find the videos of good debaters, because the market is clogged with debaters that are full of quality, that are qualified, that don't have certain qualities from these types of debating communities. And furthermore, we as the side opposition believe that the debaters have no moral obligation to be recorded from the government. Yes, we believe that the government paid for these types of competitions, but we believe that these debaters have worked hard for themselves, that these debaters have worked for themselves, these debaters have tried to work, that these debaters have no moral obligation to be recorded. And the point of side government that there is no standard and they're trying to breach the standard by not recognizing consented recording, there's a problem with this, because the people who are trying to watch these types of videos are also newbies. We also believe that people that are trying to watch these videos are also people that are trying to improve themselves. And if we're not, and if these types of people that are currently being recorded, shy people that are in the lower spectrum of the debating community, we believe that they will give out a minimum performance in their videos. It will give out a minimum performance to what they actually can become. And what does this do? Preemptively, it makes them even more reluctant to join debating communities. It makes them even more reluctant to join debating competitions, or even more reluctant to join the national debating competition. Just because that they are confident in themselves, just because that they are trying to find themselves. And this leads to a problem. This leads to that these types of talents being gone, these types of talents being swept away just because they are confident in themselves. And thus it creates a further conflict between the interest of the government. The interest of the government is to find these types of talents. If they don't find these types of talents, which talent can be found anywhere, even from Sabang to Merauke, it can be found anywhere. The government's goal is to include every single person in these types of communities. And furthermore, the side governments believe that this type of recording will improve recognition for these types of debaters. Improve recognition for these types of debaters and improve appreciation for these types of debaters. But we on side opposition believe that it is more beneficial if we try to fix the community of debaters, if we try to fix the mentality of debaters, if we try to fix the helpful mind of debaters, rather than us trying to force these types of people to be recorded, rather than us trying to further improve this type of community. And because we give you one of the points about how side governments fail to achieve the interest of the government, and why side opposition is in the interest of every single party, which is the debater and the government, we are proud to oppose.
Thank you, Opposition Whip. To review and summarize the cases from the opposition team, let us call the opposition team back.
If you think that it's bad for us to stick with the status quo, you might as well look at their solutions. We think they today introduce problems which they themselves do not solve. What kind of problems do they introduce? They said that Indonesia needs development and how Indonesia needs proliferation and how there is lack of transparency in these debating communities. However, I'm going to explain to you why they fail in solving such problems. First of all, Zahid government today spoke about debaters as if they're exclusive individuals who are already great. They're speaking about individuals who are on the highest level of debating, while not considering the fact that the point of proliferation that is introduced by the government is to introduce debating to newer people, which they don't consider, because they assume those people are people who join are people who are ultimately already good, and they're not considering those who actually want to try and want to improve. Therefore, proliferation is not a sheep in their side of the house, because people who watch these videos, the people that they're considering, are people who will be considered exclusives. People think that in order to be debated, you need to have qualities A, B, and C. We think that this is highly harmful. It prevents people from entering debate in the first place. And also, how they said that you can learn from these videos. But we told you how you can't really learn as much, because a lot of people would be giving minimum performance because of the emotional baggage that they endure. They would not perform as comfortably as they could have done. We think that it is enough for you to watch recordings of people who consent to be recorded, because we think that they can give better performances. You don't need to force people who don't consent and give worse performance, for example, to be viewed by other people who might ridicule them and stop their personal development. Also, on the point of transparency, we think that it is unclear why they want transparency to be judged by watching videos. We think that it is not enough. There are a lot of backroom things that committees do in order to create, for example, a debate competition. You can't judge it from watching people debate. And again, we think that the decision would then be very subjective. The response to our point was how there are, in a single room, there could be, for example, five people sitting as the panelists. We think this doesn't matter. No matter how much people, it will still be very subjective in its nature. So in our side of the house, we introduced a couple of arguments. First of all, on how their proposal would create more harm. In our side of the house, we told you how it would create emotional baggage and make people feel forced to participate in such kind of competitions, and also how they won't give their biggest performance. Also, we considered both sides of the spectrum. We considered the people on the highest point of debating, and also the people who are starting out. And their side of the house, they're only thinking of the people who are already confident, who want their videos to be seen, and where people can learn from. But in our side of the house, we acknowledge that state-funded tournaments can also exist in places such as Irian, in places that are relatively rural. And we also showed you the dangers of showing recordings of these videos who don't consent, because we think that it might actually give bad images to that particular area, therefore stopping them to participate in more competitions. And then basically people would start at the end of the day ridiculing that area for being left behind. Even if they don't state it explicitly, it would still happen in their subconscious mind, that they think by watching these videos, people from areas A, B, C are less developed, people from areas B, DEF are more developed, and so on and so forth. Therefore, the goals that they introduced aren't achieved, because proliferation doesn't happen when you watch someone being recorded, forcibly recorded, and not giving their best performance. We think that it can happen with people who already consent, with people who can perform their best because they're comfortable in their skins while performing. And also transparency, we think they don't achieve this, because you can't judge from debate videos. It is better that you get testimony and actually follow what's going on instead of watching debate recordings. That's why I'm very proud to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, replies. To see the last speaker on the debate round is all the replies of the government team. They're here.
Government already take this debate by but we already proved to you on how debate will be more proliferated in our cases, right? But before moving on to the clashes that we obviously want, first I'm going to clarify something. First, we don't say like every